Well, ladies, I was singing the beginning part. I don't know why. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, America. How are you? For the love of the game, it's What's on Sports. Brought to you by our friends at whatsonsports.com. And, of course, our sponsors over at Sports Trading Systems. For those of you that want to learn how to trade sports like other people trade stocks, go over to Sports Trading Systems. Great stuff going over there. The record these guys have is unbelievable. You want to go over and check out sportstradingsystems.com today to help us out, keeping the show coming at you live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 10:30 in the morning. Of course, today I'm super late. Had a little problem with my computer, so I do apologize. Hopefully the chat room fills up with some good people that we can listen to. For those of you that don't listen to us live, you always can download us on your favorite podcast platforms. That's right. We're What's on Sports on your favorite podcast platforms. And, of course, whatsonsports.com. My name is John Tedor, and today I'll be your host. My head is slightly tilted to the left because I believe I ate too much for Christmas. I ate so much over this weekend. I'm sure everybody else did too. I was working out so hard. I was so proud of myself, really. And then I just hit the weekend. It's always one of those weekends where everyone's like, oh, have some of this. Oh, have some cake, have a cookie. And then my birthday's on Sunday. And then, I'm like, well, I got to have cake on Sunday. So I was like, well, I'm kind of here where I'm at right now. I'm not around a lot of people. The girls I'm hanging out with right now are Thai. I'm broadcasting from Thailand, by the way. Our company's quite large, but we're all spread out around the world. I ended up in Thailand, so I broadcast remotely from Thailand, bringing guests from all over the place. Anyway, so I'm hanging out with Thai girls. They don't know a lot about Christmas. Thinking to myself, well, I'm not going to get very many gifts. Probably not going to get a cake for my birthday. So I went out and I had some ice cream early in the day. Then I proceeded to have some cake that some girl bought me. And then another girl showed up with a cake. And unbeknownst to me, they're very accustomed to giving cakes here. So I had like 4 pieces of cake and some ice cream. And I probably gained about 7 or 8 pounds yesterday, the day before. So I had a hard workout today, which is extremely hard because I'm so fat and even fatter than before. And but the entire time I'm working out, I'm thinking to myself, what a weekend for football, like really what a weekend for sports in general. I mean, for me, I'm a huge NFL football fan. The NBA is second to me, but a decently close second. I love the NBA, and it was a great weekend to be able to watch all of this sports. And today, we're going to be talking about all that. We're going to be covering every one of these things. And the first thing that I want to talk about is I want to talk about the things I noticed over the weekend. And what I did was I kind of changed this. I changed this from things I noticed over the weekend to a couple losers that I really noticed over the weekend. And I mean some big losers. Guys and teams that just did not perform the way they should have. And I was super shocked by what I saw. Some of the things I thought I would see this weekend, I didn't see. But let me just talk about some of the losers that I saw over the weekend. First of all, we have to start with the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Browns over the last few weeks have really become one of those teams where you just have to say to yourself, this is one of the best teams in football. I mean, it's hard to look at them and not think so. Their defense has played really well. They have a really, really good running game, a two-headed attack with 2 stud running backs. They seem to have somehow become more dangerous in the air without Odell Beckham. You're looking at their quarterback, Baker Mayfield, who has looked really, really good, like top 10 quarterback, easily making you reconsider who the top player, or at least the top quarterback of that draft was. And then this weekend comes along, and they lay a Cleveland-sized egg that, no one saw coming. The Jets had their one win. Were they going to win again? Was it possible that the New York Jets could win 2 games this year, let alone 2 games in a row? Well, the answer is really simple. And the answer is yes, they can. And yes, they did. Thank you, Cleveland. I laughed my ass off. Here's another loser for you. Washington Redskins. This team was on fire. On fire. Now, granted, the team has had some serious issues at quarterback, and everybody knows about that. But their defense has played well, and the team in general has played really well. They've been able to run the ball. They've been able to move the ball a little bit. McLaurin's had an amazing year, real breakout season. The Redskins were a team that I said, if they can stay on the pace they're on, going into the playoffs could be a very dangerous team. And what did the Redskins do? Played Carolina and laid a Cleveland-sized egg. Sorry, Cleveland. It was terrible. Absolutely horrible. Who else laid an egg this weekend? Well, I'll tell you who laid an egg. The Indianapolis Colts. And we'll be talking about them again in just a few short minutes. But the Indianapolis Colts absolutely laid an egg. Up 17 points against a floundering Pittsburgh team going into the second half of that game. No crowd to keep Pittsburgh excited. No terrible towels. Nothing to get that team amped up. All Indianapolis had to do was maybe score a touchdown and stop Pittsburgh from scoring too many points. Pittsburgh hasn't come back from a 17-point deficit in 10 years. And they did. Indianapolis blew it and almost cost themselves a playoff position. Now, certain things happened that fell into a position where Indianapolis can win next week against Jacksonville and have a very good chance to make it to the playoffs still. But for this weekend, Indianapolis is a big loser in my opinion. Let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. Now, I thought this Sunday night game was going to be very competitive. Titans, Packers. I mean, this could be a Super Bowl preview, a lot of people thought. Well, the Packers came out and absolutely positively stomped a mud hole in the Titans. They out-tightened the Titans. Now, Derrick Henry had 98 yards. It wasn't a terrible Derrick Henry performance. But I think the Green Bay Packers had 270 yards rushing. They had two guys almost make 100 yards by themselves. This was an incredible performance by the Green Bay Packers. They looked literally unstoppable. And if you can give Aaron Rodgers a ground game that can get 200 yards a game, you see how dangerous he was. I mean, I got to go back and look at the stats, but I believe it was 21 for 24 with 4 touchdowns. It was an unbelievable performance. That team looks like the best team in football right now. And remember that I told you that Aaron Rodgers is going to win that MVP race. I told you that a month ago. And I believe it now, especially because when we talk about our last loser this weekend, and that's right, it's for all my Chiefs fans out there. The big loser over the weekend, in my opinion, were the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, according to our national media, are an unbelievable titans of football. No one will beat the Chiefs. Everyone is compared to them. Now, I believe that's fair, only for the simple fact that the Chiefs did win the Super Bowl last year. But in my opinion, when you watch the Chiefs play, they are an incredibly beatable team. And I've said that again and again. Their schedule has not been hard. It hasn't. And they've played some close games against teams they shouldn't have. The Raiders twice. The San Diego Chargers took them to overtime. And this weekend, the Atlanta Falcons, who somehow, some way, can barely seem to get out of their own way, have almost beat them. Almost beat them. In fact, they should have beat them. If you watch that game, Atlanta lost that game. Kansas City did not win it. Patrick Mahomes did not look like a world beater. He sure as hell didn't look like Aaron Rodgers. So call them what you want. Call them champs because that's what they are. They are the reigning champs of the NFL right now. But that's a beatable team. And in my opinion, that's the next loser for the weekend. Now, before I go into something that I do want to talk about, because I'm going to go into some Steelers stuff, I want to cover something that happened over the weekend. And I'm looking at my phone right now because I actually have the clip here and I'm going to play it right off the phone. J.J. Watt said something over the weekend after a loss that I think a lot of people were thinking. And I think a lot of people have felt over time. And it's finally have our hero. J.J. Watt fears absolutely, positively nothing. Now, this, by the way, will show you what it's like to be 295 pounds of solid muscle and be worth about $100 million. You don't give a shit what anybody thinks. And you'll say anything you want, and you don't care who it pisses off. J.J. Watt over the weekend.
You can win on a game. You can win a pass rush around the edge, and you're not going to get there. Ball's gone. We didn't stop the run. We played horrendously. And it's harsh, but that is the fact of what we did today. And it is extremely frustrating.
Now, of course, this is not new. Player comes out, talks a little bit about how bad we played. We were not very good. We couldn't stop the run. We couldn't do this. We couldn't do that. That's normal. That's normal. You're thinking to yourself, I'm not hearing anything special right now. Wait for this part.
Professional athletes getting paid a whole lot of money. If you can't come in and put work in the building, go out to the practice field and work hard, do your lifts and do what you're supposed to do, you should not be here.
That's right.
This is a job. We are getting paid a whole lot of money. There are a lot of people that watch us and invest their time and their money into buying our jerseys and buying a whole bunch of shit. And they care about it. They care every single week. We're in week 16 and we're 4-11. And there's fans that watch this game, that show up to the stadium, that put in time and energy and effort and care about this. So if you can't go out there and you can't work out, you can't show up on time, you can't practice, you can't want to go out there and win, you shouldn't be here. Because this is a privilege. It's the greatest job in the world.
Yeah.
You get to go out and play a game. And if you can't care enough, even in week 17, even when you're trash, when you're 4-11, if you can't care enough to go out there and give everything you've got and try your hardest, that's bullshit.
Thank you, JJ Watt. It's about goddamn time somebody said this. That is right. It's a privilege to play in the NFL. It's not your right to be there, just like it's not my right to be here. Just like if you're on your job right now watching us instead of working, it's not your right to be there. Don't turn off, of course, but I'm just bringing that up. Anyway, we're all privileged to have what we have, whether it's a job or an opportunity in our life. We make the best of it. JJ Watt did the right thing here by calling out his teammates because he believes that those guys are not doing what they should be doing. And you know what, JJ? You're 4-11. You're probably right. I'm so proud of the way this guy has the balls to come out and say this. And as a matter of fact, listen, I'm a Steeler fan. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Steelers next. I'm a Steeler fan, and so I don't want to be too biased here, but I absolutely love the Watt family. If you listen to any of them talk, their parents did an amazing job of programming them and brainwashing them to absolutely positively say the right thing at all times. These guys have got a moral floor that is higher than anything I've ever thought about. These guys are impeccable. They work their ass off. They've all got really beautiful girlfriends that they've been with since high school. They all say the right thing. They all do the right thing for the community. We need more people like the Watt family out there. That is absolutely positively amazing. And I'm so proud of JJ Watt for calling everybody out. JJ, good for you, buddy. When your contract's over, we'll be waiting for you in Pittsburgh. Now, speaking of the Pittsburgh, I do want to talk about the Steelers. But before I do that, I just want to remind everybody we have a huge show today. We got Michael Schussler is going to come out a little bit later. Now, for those of you that don't know Michael, he is the Charm City cash cow because he is the fantasy guru that has made people like me thousands of dollars this year. As a matter of fact, I myself have made thousands of dollars, no BS, playing small money fantasy sports on the weekends. I just mess around. I listen to some stuff Michael taught me. I really learned a lot from his podcast and from private conversations. I am privileged to have some private conversations with Michael. He's helped me out a lot along the way. He's going to come out later on, talk about his fantasy champs and chumps. We've also got Lance Fernandez joining us from the What's on Sports website. He's going to be coming on here talking to us about the NBA opening weekend, which was a huge weekend filled with fireworks. We've got our mailbag. You guys wrote in a lot of questions. And then we've got a game we're going to play later on. And I want you guys to stick around because everybody in the chat room today is going to be part of this game. The game is called Who Would You Rather? It's a sports game, and it should be a lot of fun. Now, let's talk about something that is near and dear to my heart. I originally was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I grew up there until I was about 19 years old. I moved away and went to Miami. Now, no matter where I go, no matter where I stay, no matter how old I am, and no matter what happens to me in my life, there's one thing that you know for sure. Two things, actually. Number one, I will always love my family. And number two, I will always love the Pittsburgh Steelers. Always. And when the Steelers play well, I'm right there with them. And when the Steelers play bad, I'm probably harder on them than anybody else. And if you've listened to this podcast over the last month or so, I have been so hard on the Steelers. I've pointed out everything wrong with them, and they have done nothing to fix these problems. And one of the things I always say is if a guy like me sitting at home eating chicken wings continuously throughout the game, feeding chicken wings into my mouth, talking to my friends, looking at like 5 other games, looking at my phone while I'm watching the game, if I can sit there only watching the game one time and figure out the tendencies of this team while stuffing chicken wings in my mouth and talking to my friends and screwing around on my phone, if I know what the next play is going to be, you sure as hell better believe that the Baltimore Ravens can figure it out. You sure as hell better believe that the Washington Redskins can figure it out. You just have to believe that Buffalo can figure it out because you saw it happen. And for God's sakes, even Cincinnati can figure it out. So we go into Indianapolis yesterday. Actually, Indianapolis goes into Pittsburgh. And you watch a first half that might be the worst first half that they've had in the entire season. And you're thinking to yourself, while you're eating your chicken wings, this goddamn season is over. I cannot believe this season is over. And I also can't believe how hot I made these wings because they were just, my mouth is on fire and I'm drinking water and I'm thinking, oh, can I get some milk? But I'm lazy and I don't want to go to the kitchen. Anyway, so I'm watching the game and I'm thinking to myself, this is terrible. I can't believe they've done this. They go into halftime and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to turn this off. 10 years now. I've never missed a game in 10 years. I never turn off the game. I watch to the misery all the way to the end. That's what I do. I'm thinking I'm going to turn this damn thing off. But you know what I did? I kept watching. And I have no idea what happened at halftime. I have no idea what they said. I have no idea what happened, but they completely changed their offense for the first time in a month and came out and started throwing the ball further than 5 yards. And for God's sakes, they look like a real team again. And I have no idea what happened to them. I have no idea who said what. I heard they had a meeting in the back and somebody said, you guys look like you're not having any fun. And that's what worked. That's all you had to say was, hey, smile, buddy. Well, listen, guys, put on a goddamn smile because the playoffs are coming up. And this, what you did in the second half yesterday is what you need to do going forward. Now, I don't think they're going to play their starters next week, which may give Cleveland a path to the playoffs, which I don't like. But I understand what's going to happen. Let me just wrap it up by saying this. Thank God yesterday happened. There is a glimmer of hope that this team may actually be able to do something in the playoffs. If you're a Steeler fan, pray to whatever God you believe in, or just have some beers and some wings and get ready for a couple weeks from now because the playoffs are coming. Now, we have a guest coming up today that I've been talking about that I want you guys to meet. If you've never met him before, he is absolutely positively the third or fourth most handsome guy I ever bring on this show. Maybe less. I don't even know, who pays attention to these things. But he is the guy that without a shadow of a doubt has made me more money this year than anybody else. Now, granted, I only have invested in regular gambling, which I tell myself what to do, and fantasy sports. So Michael is number one with a bullet. They call him the Charm City Cash Cow. Third most handsome guy to ever be on the show. Michael Schussler, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, John. Nice to see those Steelers get a win. I mean, as a Ravens fan, I'm actually sitting there cheering for the Steelers yesterday.
Yeah, you have to, right?
I had to. And, it felt good. It felt good to see Juju catch that touchdown. I see we have a comment here. Yeah, Juju can do his TikToks after he actually, almost has 100 yards. He didn't quite get 100 yards because he just somehow can't do it anymore without AB. But
listen to me. Stop right there. He cannot do his TikToks anymore. First of all, I think that entire thing is ridiculous. Yeah. Standing in front of the camera, doing a stupid dance so everybody can look at you is completely ridiculous. But let's imagine for a second that it's okay and people are fine with it. Okay, that's good. That's your choice. You can't do it before the game. You cannot do these things before the game and give the other team bulletin board material right before the game. Would you like it if Lamar decided on his own, you're a Baltimore fan, Lamar Jackson on his own decides to go out in the middle of the Pittsburgh Steelers and dance on their logo and makes the Steelers even more intense than they were supposed to be? Of course not.
No, you never want to give more ammunition, especially in the game of football, which is the most aggressive, angry game that we have in America.
Right.
You don't want to get, and these guys are huge. And I mean, all they do is lift and build their bodies up to crush you. That's what a defense's job is. So you don't want to give them any further ammunition, but great job for the Steelers to get that win. Helps for the Baltimore Ravens. So I love it. Speaking of making money, John.
Now, hang on just real quick, Michael. We do have a lot of people watching today. So anybody out there that wants to send some messages to Michael in the chat room, at the end of the segment, Michael will answer your questions. So if you guys want to throw them out there, have some patience, stick around. Michael will answer your questions if we can get to all of them at the end of the segment. So go ahead, Michael. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, great point, John. And everyone out there watching YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is. Yeah, obviously you can put your comments there. So speaking of making money, though, you made over $1,000 with me. I love to see that. Love to hear that. Can I do? Yes,
no,
I can.
You cannot dance on TikTok. I had to answer it. I had to answer that one right now. You will not be dancing on TikTok.
You have to follow my TikTok for that, which I don't have. But I made I made now over $2,000 with just one bet this year, John. Can you guess what it is that happened last night?
I know exactly what it is, actually.
Yeah,
I know exactly what it is. It's your boy from Green Bay. Mm-hmm. You have been all over this since week one. You've been telling me this is my bet. I'm going to make it every weekend, and I'm going to win every weekend. I thought you were crazy, but
Devonte Adams first touchdown every damn week. It's plus 490, plus 500 on whatever sportsbook you use. I'm telling you guys, and that bet will still exist as the Packers get into the playoffs. So there's no reason to stop now. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to stop looking at him. He isn't going to want to stop having a monster performance.
Just really quick, let me just tell people what you're talking about. Michael is a fantasy expert, but he does take some of his expertise into what we call prop bets.
Yeah.
And a prop bet is just saying that someone's going to do something. Mm-hmm. for the Super Bowl, the prop bet will be how long is the national anthem going to be. For a regular game, it could be who's going to score the first touchdown. And you have over and over again said that Devonte Adams is going to score the first touchdown of every Green Bay game. And do you even know the record this year? How many games have you won?
Oh, I think it's 8, maybe 9 out of 16 so far. And yeah, and just any bet that is that favorable with those kind of odds, you're making money on top of money. Like it's a no-brainer to just hit that every week. So everyone out there listening, Devonte Adams first touchdown, just keep doing it until the sports books, come around to it. But
yeah, at 5-1, that's crazy money.
Absolutely. But anyway, great weekend for football, great weekend for the Ravens and the Steelers, who have, clinched a playoff berth now.
Boom.
Yeah, it'll be exciting for sure.
All right, so let's get to your fantasy champs and chumps for the day.
Okay, so week 16, almost through it. Only one game left. The Bills and the New England Patriots tonight, but this is week 16 is the fantasy championship for every respectable league. Okay, so all games were won and lost. Fantasy seasons won and lost for season-long leagues yesterday, Saturday. So I'm going to give you my fantasy champs and chumps of this past week. All right, these are players who changed the game for everyone.
Let's do it.
You got to start with Alvin Kamara, who had 155 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns.
What a huge game
against the Vikings. Yeah, that's good for
a huge game. And he actually had a 7th rushing touchdown that got called back.
Well, yes,
so and he should have scored 7.
He should have. And also, when he had his 5th touchdown, there was about 2 minutes left in the game. They had the Saints had the ball on the goal line, and Sean Payton brought in his boy Taysom Hill to snipe the 6th touchdown from Alvin Kamara, who then did get his 6th in the next drive. But how are you? We know Sean Payton cares about records. Okay, we've seen Drew Brees only care about records. It seems. How are you not going to give your man Alvin Kamara, who you only give about 11 rushes to per game for some ridiculous reason? How are you not going to give him 7 touchdowns to break the NFL record for rushing touchdowns? Like I could not imagine that. What he must have been going through. I mean, sure, he had a great game. He tied the record with 6 touchdowns. But what does Taysom Hill do to deserve that goal line carry? I can't answer that. Frustrating for Alvin Kamara.
Frustrating from a fantasy standpoint, but from a NFL coaches, years ago there was this huge controversy of the Super Bowl, Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl. Mike Ditka decides to give the ball to Refrigerator Perry to score instead of Walter Payton. Oh, Walter Payton doesn't get to score a touchdown. Walter Payton didn't care. He just wanted to win the Super Bowl. I mean, would it be nice to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl? Sure, but who cares? At the end of the day, he's a Super Bowl champ. He gets the ring, he gets the jacket. He's the man. So I don't know that a coach sits there and says, I want to break a record for this guy. Now, if it's a Drew Brees, if it's an older guy that's been around a long time, you may be a little more conscious of it. But somebody like an Alvin Kamara who's only been around for a few years, I don't know that he gets that type of rub from the coach to be like, I got to take care of Alvin.
That's a fair point. But they were winning. They were up by 20 points. I mean, the game was over with 2 minutes left. So whatever. We know Sean Payton loves Taysom Hill. Maybe Sean Payton had a Taysom Hill anytime touchdown bet that he wanted to. But so Alvin Kamara has got to be the king of kings on week 16. I mean, this is what you drafted him for. This is what you use a first round pick for. He's a lock, absolute lock for fantasy. And he came through big time for everyone. That's the 2nd highest fantasy performance from any player this year behind Tyreek Hill in week 12. Okay. Alvin Kamara is the first champ. Second champ, guy we just talked about. Guy who's made me over $1,500 this year by himself. That's Devante Adams, who against the Titans last night had another 11 receptions, over 140 yards and 3 touchdowns. Good for 43 plus fantasy points in a PPR format. It was his 5th multi-touchdown of the year, his 2nd game with 3 touchdowns, and he's the number 1 scoring wide receiver in all of football, despite missing 2 games due to injury. And he's only
Devonte, right?
Devonte Adams. He's only had 3 games this year without a touchdown. He's insane. And another guy who is a 1st, 2nd round pick in fantasy. He came through for all of the owners out there like he has all years when he's been on the field.
So real quick, Devonte Adams is averaging 1.3 touchdowns per game. That rate has only been matched 4 times in NFL history. And it's all 4 times by NFL Hall of Famers. Can you name 2 of the guys?
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice is one guy.
And the other one, how classic are we talking about?
The other one's fairly recent, and the other 2 are pretty far back. You won't guess the other 2. It's Don Hutton and Elroy Hirsch.
Okay.
So the other one's pretty recent. And in my opinion, he's the greatest receiver of all time.
Oh, he's a receiver. Oh, Randy Moss.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Randy Moss is actually number 1. He's got the highest.
But all right, let's move on to my next champ. Now, this guy, unlike the first 2, is lesser known. He's Myles Gaskins, who's someone who I have talked about all year, especially for DFS purposes because he's so cheap. But he had 169 total yards against the Raiders on Sunday. He accounted for both of the Dolphins' touchdowns. And dude, he had missed the last 2 games due to COVID. He's missed 6 total games this year. But he went out there and won fantasy championships for owners who probably got him as a waiver claim earlier in the season, who most people had never heard of him. And he steps right in back to his bell cow role, which he clearly can handle and produce with. And he was there when it mattered most. So Myles Gaskin, huge fantasy performance on week 15. You got to love that.
Cool. Who are our chumps?
The chumps is Josh Jacobs. Same game. Now, he had 13 rushes for 69 yards, did not catch a pass. Okay. And he was a late first round pick in almost every fantasy draft. His ADP, or average draft position, was 14. So that's, late first round, early second round in a 12-team league. He had the chance now to score twice with under 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, but instead he tried not to score, falling on the ground at the 2-yard line and then again at the 1, trying not to score so that the Raiders could run the clock out and kick a field goal, which would only have put them up by 2. So they do that. They go up by 2, give the ball back to Ryan Fitzpatrick. What does Fitzmagic do? Drives down the field and kicks an actual game-winning field goal, and they win the game. Yeah, unbelievable. And as a Ravens fan watching this, needed the Dolphins to lose this game. And I mean, look, that's why you don't try to not score touchdowns. It's the NFL. The point of the game is to put that ball into the end zone.
Absolutely.
Twice.
What an incredibly huge blunder by John Gruden.
Absolutely.
Just a terrible coaching move, huge blunder, just trying to be too cute and just trying to quote unquote out coach the other guy. Terrible move by Gruden.
Yep, sure was. All right, next chump. This is a guy that I love, but it's Patrick Mahomes. All right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now just for this week, because he had his 6th lowest yardage production of the year against the Falcons. Come on, Mahomes. People needed you this week. Of any week, they needed you. And he was the first quarterback taken in almost every draft. His average draft position was 16.5. That's way too high for any quarterback, but still. And he was currently the 13th highest scoring quarterback of the week with Josh Allen still to play. So here are some quarterbacks who outproduced Mahomes in the fantasy championship: Kirk Cousins, Brandon Allen, Derek Carr, Mitchell Trubisky, and Andy Dalton.
I would have been the guy who won his championship with Brandon Allen, because that guy is a genius. That guy who was I'm taking this guy.
I don't know how that guy got to the championship, but if you had Brandon Allen, that's ballsy.
Yeah, right?
Rewarding. All right. So Patrick Mahomes, as much as I love him, he disappointed fantasy managers in the championship. My final chump, another guy who's been phenomenal this year, but it's Derrick Henry, who you mentioned had 98 yards. He had 98 yards, okay? But this guy's coming off back-to-back 25-plus fantasy performances in the last 2 weeks, which were the quarter and semifinals of the fantasy playoffs. And then he left owners disappointed when they needed him most in the championship with only 9.8 fantasy points because he did not catch a pass. 98 yards. And think about that. I mean, this dude gets almost 100 yards. And we're sitting here thinking that, it was one of his worst performances of the year. He helped you get there, but then he disappointed you. And he's outside the top 30 running backs in fantasy points scored in the most important week of the year. Derrick Henry.
That entire Titans team really did a disservice to Henry. Henry was so close. He still has an outside chance, but so close to hitting that 2,000 yard mark going against Green Bay, who I think is, was widely considered a superior team by a small margin at least, but very susceptible for the fact that they have had trouble going into last year stopping the run. Yep. How could Derrick Henry not dominate this game? It was so weird to watch, honestly, in my opinion. It was so bizarre to watch Henry. Really, he didn't struggle, but he only had 23 carries. That whole offense just didn't move very well. Very weird.
Well, the Titans do get the Texans next week, so hopefully they can, hopefully they can come back and get him those 2,000 yards, which he totally deserves. Gotta love Derrick Henry. But those are my champs and chumps for the fantasy championship, John.
His name is Michael Schussler. He is the Charm City Cash Cow. Michael, if you don't mind, we're going to bring you back a little bit later on because we have a fun game we're going to play.
Yeah.
And I also want to bring you back Wednesday because Michael and I had a private conversation before the show started where we were talking about 3 things that Michael thinks that you have to know before you draft next year. Now, I know that's some future thought, but it's great information to know. Michael Schussler in the house. Michael, thank you so much. Hey, guys, listen. The show comes to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, live on YouTube, live on Facebook. Michael does a show in place of this one on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's actually called Fantasy Fallout. It covers everything from football to basketball. It's literally one of my favorite shows to listen to. Michael just has so much information, just a wealth of knowledge. I love all the numbers and statistics. It's probably part of the reason I've been such a sports fan my whole life. And Michael just delves into such a deep analytical thinking that it's a show you really must watch. So if you're watching us live now, I strongly encourage you to tune in again on Tuesdays and Thursdays so you can listen to Michael's show. Now, if you've ever been to our website, which is whatsonsports.com, you realize that there's tons of videos, there's tons of great articles, and it's a very interactive site. We try to write articles where people can kind of give their opinion or feel out our opinion and really come up with their own kind of opinion on what things are going on in the sports world. And one of the things we do over there is a thing we call our mailbag. And we give everyone an opportunity to write in and ask us questions. And on this show right here, we try to answer all of those questions. So today, we're going to dive deep into the mailbag, and we're going to talk about the questions that you've sent in. But before we do that, before we go any further, I have one more guest that I do want to bring on right now, and he's one of our head writers over at What's on Sports. He's one of my favorite guys in the whole world because this guy loves sports maybe more than I do. Lance Fernandez is in the house. Lance, how are you, buddy?
Doing great, bud. Doing great. Merry Christmas to you, John. Hope you had a great time.
Oh, same to you, buddy. Happy holidays, man. But the holidays are over. But the one thing that it really left everybody with was our first taste of the NBA. Basketball is back, baby. What'd you notice on the opening weekend?
Okay, first things first. Out of all the games that we've seen during the opening weekend, seems like Christmas came early for the Brooklyn Nets. They look daunting after 2 games. They have just dominated not just any team, but that's the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics, 2 of the better teams in the league. They have a potent 1-2 punch in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But more importantly, they have a deep supporting cast with the guys like Kyrie LeVert. Spencer Dinwiddie is still struggling, but he still contributes bits and pieces. And Jarrett Allen is always an intriguing piece as a rim protector. I firmly believe that over DeAndre Jordan, it should be Jarrett Allen starting so as to further progress his development. But moving forward, despite the loss against the Charlotte Hornets, the Nets look to be legit.
Yeah, I always wonder when you bring in most of these guys, their entire life have been the alpha male in the room. So you look at guys that are coming out of the college ranks into the NBA. Well, these guys are all scorers. They're all big defenders. They're all really good athletes. They are the man. It's a very tough adjustment when you start to bring in these other alpha males that are so much better. Now, Kyrie was there last year, but you add Kevin Durant to this team. It's such a new mix. And, without a doubt, Kevin Durant, if he comes back to the form he was in before, is a top 3 player in the NBA. So really to see how they're mixing together, it's only been a few games, but to see how they're mixing together has really, really been great, man. I'm really surprised. I expect a meltdown somewhere along the way. I don't know when it's going to happen, but that's my prediction. Somewhere throughout the year this year, we will see a Nets meltdown. But let's talk about the next thing you noticed on the NBA weekend.
Okay, so barring any Nets meltdown, one team that we are already seeing in meltdown mode are the Golden State Warriors. Now, They have lost Klay Thompson throughout the season through the injury, and Draymond Green hasn't showed up yet. So that underlines the importance of defense in the NBA. Nobody can defend like Draymond Green. He is a versatile defender that can stretch to the wing and also defend the big guys of the other team. James Wiseman is not there yet, although he has the tools to be like a Draymond Green, but he's not there yet. And also, there are no other wing defenders in the Warriors, just like Klay Thompson. So it understates the importance of Thompson in the team, not just as a scorer, but as a defender. Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins are not defenders. Brad Wanamaker can be a defender, but he's not given enough minutes to play that role. So that's why you see Golden State trailing by big margins, even though they won their third game by a lucky three-pointer by Damian Lee. Still, it shows how poor their perimeter defense is, and that's one of the things that they have to improve if they are to make the playoffs again.
Yeah, very interesting. I think it's going to be very tough for a team that's built with three superstars, two superstars and a Draymond type of player to really go down to one. And, especially when the one didn't play last year. So, he's going to be a little rusty. It's going to be a tough adjustment for them. I would love to see Golden State be competitive again. I would hate to see the West be the Lakers and Clippers and possibly Houston, fighting for that top spot again. But I would love to see Golden State become a little bit better of a team. Let's see what happens as time goes on. Trouble in Paradise with Patty and Mike. I don't know what that means. Patty and Mike. That's a comment from the comment section. What else did you notice over the weekend there, buddy?
Okay, so this is not exactly Patty and Mike that we're going to discuss next, but it's the new guys for the Los Angeles Lakers, and they don't need any adjustment periods to come in. Dennis Schroeder almost had a triple-double in the opener, though they lost against the Clippers, and Montrezl Harrell just picking up where he left off, but just wearing a different jersey. He's still the same double-double guy and the energy guy off the bench for the Lakers. And not just for one game, they also did it for the next two games. And that's why the Lakers have won two of their first three right now. They are vital pieces for the Lakers' drive for back-to-back titles. And as early as now, they are showing no struggles to adjusting to the Lakers' brand of ball.
Again, we talk about these teams, and especially these, what I look at as an NBA super team. You have a team with two of the top five players in the world right now on the same team in LeBron James and Anthony Davis. To me, to be a supporting cast member, I just need to know my role. And I need to put my ego aside and play my role. And I think you're right. Unfortunately, as much as I don't like the Lakers, I think they may have put together a better team this year than they had last year. And that's going to be a little scary if they can stay healthy. And as the chemistry really starts to grow with each other, the fact that they looked, at least this weekend, they looked so good chemistry-wise after the first couple of games is really shocking to me. What else did you notice over the weekend?
Okay, one more thing that we noticed over the weekend is that the Harden drama continues. No, we have revealed that he has been essentially the king. He has been essentially the king of Houston for 8 years because he's the puppet master of everything, even personnel decisions. And now he has threatened the opening game of the Rockets against the Oklahoma City Thunder. That it was actually postponed because of his blunder that he attended the party without wearing a mask, and he was fined for $50,000 or so. But more importantly, John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins were sidelined due to COVID restrictions. So they did play with a short roster, almost won against Portland, if not for that CJ McCollum conversion. But then again, if you factor it in with all the drama that it has brought to the franchise, the Harden saga continues.
I think about a guy like James Harden, and I wonder how you're in a city for 8 years, how you are this Dennis Rodman-like character who goes out and parties every day and, is late to practice and does whatever he wants to, kind of runs the team behind the scenes. And we really haven't heard about it. I mean, somehow it's until he showed up 26 pounds overweight, people didn't really mention that he was this eccentrically strange character. I just thought he was like, the beard threw me off a little bit. It's kind of his thing, whatever. I think it's long. I've had a long beard before. To me, it just feels uncomfortable. So I never really got why he wore it, but I never knew that he was such a weirdo. And I'll be honest with you, I think I like him more. Something about that to me makes me feel like, you know what? You're a millionaire. You're brave enough to say, screw it. I'm going to go party before games and still play well. Let me ask you one question though, Lance. I know you got to go. I know you got a lot of stuff to do today. I know you're writing articles for the website. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that the extra weight will play against James Harden's game?
I guess in the general scheme of things, it would not. He would still be one of the potent scorers in the NBA. But it would be better if he can lose some pounds because he still relies on his mobility and his step back jumpers. So having that added weight, so he won't be as mobile and he won't be as agile as he was before, especially when he's trying that step back jumper. That's a split second from stepping in up front and then stepping back. So with that added weight, you add like a few milliseconds to that move, which can affect his jumper and his overall game.
His name is Lance Fernandez. You can go read his latest articles over at whatsonsports.com. Lance, thank you so much for being part of the show. Now, I have this thing I'd like to start up. If we can get it started here, we can make this thing go viral. I want to start a chant or maybe get T-shirts or sell coffee mugs or something that say, chubby is the new beautiful. I think that's, or maybe chubby's the new sexy or chubby's the new handsome. James Harden can be the poster boy for it, but I want to ride along with this damn thing because I feel like it's going to be a little beneficial for me at the end. Now, before I go any further, let me just remind you that our entire show is being brought to you by our friends over at sportstradingsystems.com. If you're watching the show live on Facebook or on YouTube, you can look at the top of the banner. It's up here, actually, and you can see that this show is brought to you by our friends at Sports Trading Systems. Go over there and learn how to trade sports like other people trade stocks. It's a revolutionary method that'll teach you exactly you could have an opportunity to make yourself a tremendous amount of cash. Now, I told you earlier that people write in all the time and ask us questions at our website, which is whatsonsports.com. Well, today we're going to fire into our mailbag and answer some of those questions. I have 3 questions that were pulled out by our producer. I have not read these questions. I have never seen these questions. I will look at them. I will answer with probably at least a fairly honest response. Here we go. You talked about Randy Moss being the greatest wide receiver of all time, in your opinion, but who do you think is the best wide receiver in football today? We already talked about this earlier, and at least we talked about him earlier, and I cannot possibly go against anybody else except Devonte Adams this year. Devonte Adams has no real threat on the other side of the ball, and I cannot possibly figure out how this guy's always open. I cannot possibly figure out how somebody like Michael Schussler knows that he's going to score the first touchdown of every game, yet somehow he's never double covered in the early parts of the game. It's just amazing to me how good this guy is. And I truly believe that we are in an age where we will not see number one receivers anymore. I believe the game has become so spread out, and these weapons that everyone's using have become so multifaceted that I don't believe you're going to see these number one Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens type of guys anymore. You're seeing the last wave of them right now, and Devonte Adams is at the very, very top of it. In my opinion, he is right now the best wide receiver in all of football. Next question. The NBA is really my favorite sport, and the Heat are my favorite team. I just don't think that they can possibly match what they accomplished last year. What do you think of the Heat's chance of making it all the way back to the championship this year? So I am actually also a Miami Heat fan. I grew up in Pittsburgh, like I said, moved to Miami when I was 19, never had a basketball team. The Miami Heat were brand new. I jumped on board, became a fan. I really enjoy the Miami Heat. I like the Miami Heat a lot. And I truly think that they are one of the best teams in the East. I think the one thing the Heat have going for them that a lot of teams don't is the Heat are built for the playoffs. So if you pay attention to the NBA season, there's normally 82 games this year. They're only playing 72. Throughout the course of the season, there's not a lot of defense. Towards the back quarter maybe of the NBA season, you'll see defense. And in the playoffs, defense goes to another level. These guys are truly showing you that throughout the regular course of the regular year, they're not playing hardcore defense. They get to the playoffs, it's a whole nother game. And the Heat are built for that. The Heat are built to be a playoff team. So can they do it again? Absolutely. I think the Miami Heat definitely have an opportunity to do it again. The Miami Heat has one of the more complete rosters in the Eastern Conference Finals, or bust for them. Okay, that's a little comment from the peanut gallery there. I don't disagree. I think the Heat definitely have a great roster. I also truly believe that Pat Riley will make a move somewhere around the All-Star break. He will make a move to try to bring in somebody who is a true scorer, because that's kind of what that team misses. They miss a true, I'm going to get to the basket when I need to get to the basket type of score. Jimmy Butler can do it on occasion. Obviously, Bam is a decent scorer. They've got shooters on the outside, but they don't have that guy that everyone's like, oh no, he's cutting inside and can then dish back out that you're truly, truly afraid of. And I think if they can get that guy, someone that plays maybe a shooting guard or can fill in as a swing guard. Swing forward. I think that's the guy that they really need. Watch for Pat Riley to make one more move before the season's over. All right, we have time for one last question. With all the talk of the NFL going to a 17-game season and expanding the playoffs to 8 teams, I fear they may ruin the game in a cash grab. Why do these sports leagues have to get greedy? 162 games in basketball and 82 games in the NBA is just plain boring. I guess the question is, it's a strange question. Why do these sports leagues have to get greedy? Okay, listen, they're not. They're running a business. And it's hard to run a business knowing that you can only be open 16 days out of the year and other places can be open 82 days out of the year. It's very difficult. So when you see an opportunity to be able to expand your season, you do that. Now, I will say this. I believe the NFL is very, very close to a place where they could be entering burnout for their fans. And I just follow along here. The NFL has done an amazing job, in my opinion, of making sure that we are engaged in their product almost all year long. There's a small period right after the trade deadline and the free agency the free agency in the summertime. There's a small little window there where there's nothing going on. And we kind of get that moment to decompress and say, okay, no football, we can relax for a minute. No big deal. But other than that, the NFL keeps that product in your face all year long. Their draft is second to none. We literally plan our week around an NFL draft that happens on a Thursday night. And some of us watch it Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They have done an amazing job marketing the fact that free agency starts this week and people get excited about it and everyone's talking about it. Now, granted, it's the number one game in the entire country. So it's helpful for talking heads to pick it as a topic. But if they didn't keep it so engaging and so exciting, they would obviously not be as popular as they are. So I give them a lot of props and a lot of hoorahs for doing what they do. So if anyone can figure out a way to pull off a 17-game season, I believe they can without it getting boring. I do have a little bit of trepidation about an 8-team playoff. 8 teams in the West. 8 teams in the NFC, 8 teams in the AFC. That's 16 teams in the playoffs. There's only 32 teams. That's half the teams make it to the playoffs. I'm not sure I love it. Now, with the first year we see it, it might be amazing. But at this point right now, I'm not sure I love it. Will it ruin the game? No. Will it offend me a little bit? I love football. So the more I can get, the better. I'm fine with all of it. All right. We're going to go to our last segment of the show right now. And we always say this for the last because it's always one of the more fun things that we do. We are going to play a little game. It's called Who Would You Rather? And we brought back a couple of the guys that were on the show earlier. Of course, we got Lance with us. And Lance and I are going to go head-to-head today because Michael Schussler has actually created this game for us. It's called Who Would You Rather? And Michael, I'll let you explain the game to the folks. And then Lance and I will go head-to-head. And by the way, as a twist in the game, Lance and I have to answer the questions. Michael will decide who wins, and the people in the chat room can help us. Michael, I was trying to understand it. Please explain it to me one more time.
All right. Rules are simple. I'm going to present John and Lance with who would you rather questions. Okay, there'll be simple questions. It's pretty much one or the other, and then they will have to defend their answer as to why. And then I, being the benevolent God that I am, will reward them with a point if I agree with their reasoning for answering the question. And everyone who's watching can also type in their comments as why they agree or why they disagree, and could perhaps help sway my opinion on who gets the points.
Okay. So, for example, it'll be like, who would you rather spend the night with, Batgirl or Wonder Woman?
Exactly. And then John would say Wonder Woman because she's from the Amazon and he likes
no. Long legs. Great to talk to. She's been around for a long time. Very deep conversation. I feel like she's flexible also. So
That girl so secretive, so that's nice.
oh, see, we would
see?
definitely be on the other side there.
Who would I probably have to give the point to Lance because it's all about those secret flings there. And I see where he's going there.
All right, so I see how you get points in this game. You just act like you're creepy. Fine.
Oh, then John, you should have gotten all the points. I'm sorry.
No, I was very nice about what I was doing. Just start the game.
Before I start the game, though, I just did want to bring something up. You were talking about Devonte Adams. I think that was a mailbag question. This was something that I wrote down that I forgot to bring up when I was talking about him, just because it's so interesting. Devonte Adams by himself, after missing 2 weeks, has more touchdowns than 5 entire teams this year. More receiving touchdowns. So he's
best receiver in football right now.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, bar none. Yeah.
All right, let's start the game. So who would you rather? Now, this question is to both of you. John, you can start. And then you'll have 30 seconds to give your answer and explanation. Then we'll go to you, Lance. Everyone watching at home, you can start typing in as soon as you feel like you're ready.
I'm ready.
Who would you rather lead your team in the playoffs this year? Big Ben Roethlisberger or Ryan Tannehill?
Oh, that's a messed up question. Listen, if I had to pick somebody right now, I would say that I would rather have Ben Roethlisberger, and it's not because I'm a Steeler fan. It's because Ben has the most experience. So, and to me, the playoffs is all about experience. People asked me a few weeks ago if I thought the Bills had a chance in the Super Bowl. I said no, simply because I don't think the Bills have been far enough into the playoffs to actually have the experience to actually make it to the Super Bowl and make a difference. So to me, I'll always go with experience, especially when it comes to quarterback. So if I had to choose between Tannehill and Ben Roethlisberger, I would choose Big Ben going into the playoffs.
Fair enough. Now, Lance, same question to you. You don't have to choose the other answer. If you want to choose Big Ben as well, you would just explain why. So who would you rather have lead your team in the playoffs, Lance? Big Ben or Ryan Tannehill?
So I have to go with John Todora being a homer for this question. And I have to go with Big Ben Roethlisberger. Experience pays a lot when it comes to the playoffs. Because sometimes there are just missed plays or there's just botched plays that Big Ben can extend and gain for big yardage. That has been his trait for over 17, 18 years now. And that pays a lot when it comes to the playoffs because it's part strategy and part luck when you come to those postseason games. So I would rather have Big Ben Roethlisberger despite the steadiness of Ryan Tannehill throughout the season. I'd rather have Big Ben under center for my squad.
I feel like you stole my answer.
He did a little bit, and I really don't want to reward either of you because you're both wrong. But John, the experience for Big Ben, I'll give you the point. 1 point for John.
It can't be who's right and who's wrong. It's about who explained the answer better.
And that's why I'm giving you the point.
So I got a point. Yes.
My game. So I decide who gets the points here. All right.
Crowd's going crazy.
Lance, you get to answer this question first now, okay?
Okay.
Who would you rather see in the AFC Championship matchup? Would you rather watch the Baltimore Ravens against the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills versus the Pittsburgh Steelers? And why?
I would rather have Baltimore against Kansas City because that would be an ultimate litmus test for the Kansas City Chiefs, especially with what happened against the Atlanta Falcons. They almost lost the game. In fact, they did lose that game if not for that luck towards the end of that match. They could have been, 13-2 coming into week 17. And I guess the Ravens would be a great matchup for them. And it would test their defensive capabilities, especially in stopping the run, given that they have a J.K. Dobbins for the Ravens. So I guess that would be a better matchup for me.
John?
Yeah, Michael, listen, I feel like you put me in a bad situation here, like a really bad situation, because you asked me if I would rather watch the Baltimore Ravens versus the Kansas City Chiefs, which I think would be a good game, or would I rather watch the Buffalo Bills against my Pittsburgh Steelers? And I just told you earlier that I haven't missed a Steeler game in 10 years. So which game would I rather watch? I'd rather watch the Steelers versus the Bills. And why? Because my heart tells me so. Because it's true that I love the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I love all football. And it would pain me more than anything to not be able to watch that Kansas City-Baltimore game because that would be an amazing game. But if I had to choose one, I would say it's the Steelers.
That is touching, John, but that is
emotional.
That is incorrect. I will have to go with Lance for that because that AFC Championship is what we should have had last year. And it's really what we deserve as NFL fans. It's pretty much probably the best two teams in the AFC. I mean, obviously, people are going to say that I'm just saying that as a homer, but when the Ravens are firing on all cylinders, they are miles better than the Bills and the Steelers. I'd love to see the Chiefs and the Ravens. Point for Lance.
All right, well, listen, just real quick, I know it's your game. I don't want to interrupt you, and I realize that you're being incredibly unfair and biased. But let me just throw this out there really quick.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have played the Ravens twice, and twice the Chiefs have stomped a freaking mud hole in the Ravens. It has not been a good game. So would I want to watch that train wreck 3 times? I changed my mind. No, I wouldn't want to watch it. It wouldn't hurt my feelings. I'd be fine with it. Steelers, Bills.
Still no point.
But I guess you're talking about the different Ravens team that was weeks ago and had to go through COVID restrictions. So they're now a totally different team, by the way. By
COVID made them better? COVID made them better. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Next question.
All right, next question. Who would you rather have start at quarterback for your team in the playoffs? Tua Tagovailoa or Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Oh. Am I first?
Yes, John, you're first this time.
Good. I'd love to be first on this. I just ripped my headphones out. I got so excited. Listen, here's the thing. I think what the Miami Dolphins are doing right now is absolutely perfect. I don't think it could be any better. A lot of people complained, I can't believe you pulled Tua out. I can't believe you put Fitzpatrick in. Listen, I think that's the perfect strategy. I think you start Tua. I think you start with Tua. He's conservative. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. It's a game plan that kind of throws people off. It's got that short passing game. He doesn't throw further than 15 yards. If he does, it's some type of scheme to get a guy wide open. You start with Tua and you bring in Fitzpatrick off the bench. Give me the righty. Give me the beard. Bring the beard in. You bring him in out of the bullpen. He finishes up games for you when you need to. You don't know what's going to happen. It's hard to game plan when you can't game plan for Fitzpatrick because he'll come out there and just start slinging it everywhere. I start to.
Lance?
I guess you would look at Ryan Fitzpatrick as a pinch hitter, more like a pinch hitter in baseball. So I'd rather start Tua. Starting Tua would be better for his development moving forward. Even though he would suck at times and even though he would stall the ball because he doesn't throw it deep, I guess it would definitely help his development moving forward. He will gain more confidence.
I got the points, right? Those are my points.
Lance, are you finished with your answer there? What was your answer? Go, come on.
Listen,
John, I will give you a minus point if you interrupt Lance one more time. Lance, come on.
I would have to go with Tua, by the way. So development-wise, it would be better for him to start these games. And then if he sucks by the end of the third quarter or the start of the fourth quarter, then you bring in your pinch hitter in Ryan Fitzpatrick to try and pull out the game for the Miami Dolphins. So
you let him do this twice. He repeated my answer back twice.
True. I got to give that point to John because Lance, you said you just said the same thing that John did. And I understand that maybe that's how you feel, but neither of you brought up, though, and I'm disappointed in both of you, because Ryan Fitzpatrick has never played in a playoff game. In fact, the biggest game that Fitzpatrick has ever won was in 2004 when he won the Ivy League championship for Harvard. Okay?
Boom, smart guy.
He's a smart guy. Highest Wonderlic score the NFL has ever had, but he's not a winner in the playoffs. In fact, he's not a present quarterback in the playoffs. I'd probably have to go with Tua as well. That point can go to John.
Thank you.
Has to be a word.
I'm up 2-1, right?
Yep, you're up 2-1.
How many questions are there?
2 left.
Okay, I just got to win one more and that's over.
That's right.
Okay, so make sure my math is right. Bring it.
Okay.
Titus.
Okay. Actually, I have a couple more, but we can only just do 2 more. Who would you rather tackle? Lamar Jackson or Alvin Kamara? Who would you rather try to tackle? Lance, you go first.
Is it try or tackle?
It would be
try to tackle
for both of you.
I would rather try to tackle Alvin Kamara over Lamar Jackson because I guess Lamar Jackson has the capability of making you do the Lord's Prayer, which is just clap your hands because you missed him on thin air. Alvin Kamara is more of a north-south runner, and it would be easier to game against him when it comes to tackling. It would be tough because he is a physical specimen, but in terms of his mechanism, his mechanics, and his game, I guess I would rather have to tackle Alvin Kamara.
John.
So I just want to say really quick, I see what you're doing. I know what you've done now. You have literally stacked this game against me so I lose, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to lose. Listen, I would so much rather tackle Alvin Kamara, and there's a reason for that, okay? Now, emotionally, I'd love to hit the quarterback because nothing feels better than cracking a quarterback. But something about Lamar Jackson, the style that he runs, the fact that he starts in the pocket and you don't know what he's going to do, you don't even know he's a runner until he's a runner, makes him so much harder to tackle, in my opinion, because you don't know if you are tackling him or if you are waiting to see if he's going to cross the line. It's just, there's that moment of indecision anytime Lamar touches the ball. Alvin Kamara gets the ball. He's a north and south runner. He might take a cut, might take 2 cuts, but you know he's a runner the second he gets the ball. There's no mystery. There's also no flags. I can crush Alvin Kamara. As long as it's not head-to-head, there's no problem at all. I've watched Lamar Jackson be pushed out of bounds like that, and there will be a roughing the passer call. So if you're asking me who I'd rather hit Lamar Jackson. But who would I rather try to tackle? Well, I'd rather try to tackle Alvin Kamara. Seems like a lot less problems.
Fair point. Although, John, you did echo a lot of the same things that Lance said. I'm going to have to give that point to Lance.
No, I said nothing he said.
Yeah, you said north to south runner. And
North to south.
I said one thing he said, north and south.
And you said how elusive he is. Now look at these comments. Kamara runs the same way, all right, but also bounces off 300-pound dudes coming at him full speed. Yes. I mean, he doesn't really run the same way, Wyatt. No one runs like Lamar Jackson. He's a gazelle. But let's look at these other comments, though, because we're still tied here. But look, Tannehill's first 24 games, or his previous 24 games, mirror Mahomes' first 24, and he gets no love. That's 100% true. You guys were both wrong on that one. Point is, it's 2-2, okay? It's tied up. Stop echoing each other's questions. Give me some original thoughts here before you get minus.
I was completely original. All I said was north and south.
Apparently, that's what the jury heard, and that's why you were punished for it.
That's right. Next question. It doesn't have to be the last because I have more, but if you want to settle it here, who would you rather listen to? Kyrie Irving talk about sage and cosmic energy, or me talk about my love for Lamar Jackson? Who would you rather listen to?
Who's first?
John, you're first on this one.
As much as I truly enjoy you talking about your love of Lamar Jackson, I would rather listen to Kyrie Irving talk about sage and things like that, because the entire time I listen to that guy talk, I think to myself, what is wrong with you? Like, how did you get so far in life? Like, who is around you? Like, you've obviously surrounded yourself with people that are just saying, yeah, great idea, Kyrie, because that guy's missing a few pieces. He thinks the world is flat. He's walking around burning sage in an empty building. Like, there's some things going on there that aren't right. So given an opportunity to listen to someone who's somewhat sane, and that would be you, listen to someone who's completely out of his mind, I'll pick the crazy person all the time because it's far more interesting to me.
Good answer. Lance?
As much as I like you, Michael, I would have to choose Kyrie Irving. But the first question that I would have to ask is, where is the real Kyrie Irving? I guess the real Kyrie Irving has been abducted by aliens for years. And the Kyrie Irving that we've seen now is a mere version of the original Kyrie Irving, because they have lost a lot of screws in his head. And that's why he is not the same Kyrie Irving anymore. I wonder why Kyrie Irving doesn't have a podcast yet like us, because that's alternative comedy. Kyrie Irving talking about everything he believes in will get a lot of laughs from a lot of people, though it's not the laughs that you would like to have. But who wouldn't want to listen to someone who is so confident with what he's saying, even though he's wrong?
Who are you talking about, me, Lance?
No, I'm talking about Kyrie.
I know.
I guess there's a fine line between you and Kyrie then.
Well, I appreciate that. I got to give this point to John. He's going to win at 3-2. I'm sorry, Lance.
Time after time.
Thank you very much. I'd like to
everything.
thank my mom. Thank you, Mom, for making me just so smart and clever. I'd like to thank my dad for giving me these beautiful eyes. More importantly, I'd like to thank Michael for running such a fair game, which let me be the winner. Thank you very much to both of you guys. Michael Schussler and Lance Fernandez, rocking the show again. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the show today. Good game today, man. My name is John Tedora. This is the What's on Sports broadcast. Some of the coolest cats in all of media joining us. We're the team from What's on Sports. It's what'sonsports.com. And say goodbye, guys.
Toodaloo.
You can listen to us right here live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Facebook and YouTube, we come live. We're also on your favorite podcast platforms. Download us. Carry us around with you. It'll be fun. 1 year of Duke education. What the hell is that?
You don't know who went to Duke?
No, who went to Duke?
Kyrie went to Duke. He got that.
Oh,
Duke
yeah, that's right. I forgot he even went there.
1 year.
All right, we're out of here.
Yeah.